What if the most feared conqueror in human history didn't stop in the 13th century? Imagine this: the horizon darkens with dust, not from tanks, not from missiles, but from a million riders moving as one. And this time, they're riding straight into the modern world. What if Genghis Khan invaded today? Would satellites see him coming, or would it already be too late? For a moment, forget everything you know about timelines. This is not about medieval swords versus modern rifles. This is about systems, adaptation, and whether the deadliest war machine ever assembled could learn fast enough to survive the 21st century. Because history shows us something unsettling. Genghis Khan never fought the same war twice. And that changes everything. To understand the threat, we have to understand the force. At its peak, the Mongol Empire controlled nearly a quarter of the Earth's landmass. It crushed fortified cities, annihilated professional armies, and rewrote the rules of warfare. Speed, intelligence, psychological terror, decentralized command. These were not accidents. They were doctrine. The Mongol army was not large by modern standards, but it was optimized. Every warrior was trained from childhood. Every unit could operate independently. Orders were simple, flexible, and brutally enforced. And most importantly, Genghis Khan did not cling to tradition. He absorbed technology, tactics, and talent from every enemy he defeated. Chinese engineers built his siege weapons. Persian administrators ran his empire. Captured scouts fed his intelligence networks. This was not a primitive horde. It was an adaptive war engine. So now, place that mindset into the modern era. The first question isn't whether Genghis Khan could defeat a modern army head-on. He couldn't. The real question is far more dangerous. Would he ever fight a modern army the way it expects? The invasion begins not with missiles, but with movement. Millions of civilians across Central Asia report strange disruptions: communication lines sabotaged, fiber cables cut, power substations attacked in remote regions. No flags, no claims of responsibility. But who notices it first? Modern militaries are built to respond to signals, radar pings, heat signatures, electronic chatter. The Mongol approach offers almost none. Small, dispersed units move through rural terrain. They blend, they observe, they map supply routes, fuel depots, data centers. Because Genghis Khan never attacked blindly. He studied, he waited, and when he struck, it was never where the enemy was strongest. Modern surveillance is powerful, but it relies on patterns. The Mongols exploit that weakness. They avoid concentration, they avoid predictability. They weaponize civilians, not as shields, but as cover. Trucks disappear, rail lines fail, ports shut down temporarily. Is it terrorism? Is it sabotage? Or is it just chaos? By the time governments realize this is coordinated, the damage is already done. And then comes the psychological attack. Deep fake messages circulate online, fake evacuation orders, false reports of chemical attacks, financial markets panic, trust erodes. The Mongols understood fear better than any army in history. Entire cities once surrendered without a fight because of reputation alone. Now imagine that reputation amplified by the internet. But modern states respond. They always do. Drones flood the sky, satellites lock onto movement, precision strikes eliminate exposed units, the kill chain activates. And for the first time, the Mongols face something they've never encountered before: instant annihilation from beyond the horizon. Entire detachments vanish in seconds. Vehicles explode without warning. There is no visible enemy, no sound before impact. Losses are catastrophic. Is this where the invasion ends? It should be. But then, everything changes. Genghis Khan adapts. He always did.
He stops mass movement entirely. Units dissolve into cells. Horses are abandoned for civilian transport. Riders become drivers. Scouts become hackers, smugglers, fixers. The Mongol army disappears, not because it's defeated, but because it's learning. Modern warfare depends on supply chains, fuel, ammunition, food, data. The Mongols never relied on fixed supply lines. Each unit lived off the land. Now they live off the system. Cyber attacks intensify, not sophisticated state-level intrusions, but relentless, targeted disruptions. Water systems, hospital networks, emergency services. Nothing collapses completely, but everything becomes unreliable. And unreliability is lethal. Governments deploy internal security forces, borders tighten, surveillance expands. But that creates a new problem. The more centralized the response, the more predictable it becomes. Genghis Khan exploits that predictability.
Convoys are ambushed, not with bombs, but with information leaks. Fuel shortages ground aircraft, political pressure mounts, civil unrest spreads. The war is no longer on the frontier, it's everywhere. So the question shifts, can a modern state fight an enemy that refuses to be visible? At this point, allies step in, intelligence sharing improves, joint task forces coordinate counterinsurgency operations, special forces begin hunting cell leaders. Slowly, methodically, the net tightens. But Genghis Khan anticipated this too. He never needed to win forever, he only needed to break cohesion. Disinformation campaigns pit allies against each other, trade routes collapse, elections become contested, every internal weakness is amplified. The Mongols don't defeat armies, they exhaust societies. And yet, there is a limit. Because unlike medieval cities, modern states possess something Genghis Khan cannot fully counter: industrial-scale violence. When the political threshold is crossed, restraint ends, martial law is declared, borders are sealed, entire regions are locked down, persistent surveillance blankets the land, the environment becomes hostile to concealment. The Mongol advantage, mobility and anonymity, shrinks. One by one, cells are eliminated, leaders are captured or killed, funding dries up, recruitment becomes impossible. The modern state, slow to awaken, now moves with relentless force. This is the point of no return. Could Genghis Khan escalate further? Could he seize nuclear weapons, turn states against each other completely? Perhaps, but even his genius has constraints. Without air superiority, without heavy industry, without the ability to replace losses at scale, the invasion bleeds out. Not in a final battle, but in a long, grinding collapse. So who wins? Militarily, the modern world survives, eventually. But the cost is staggering: infrastructure damage, economic collapse, millions displaced, trust in institutions shattered. The Mongols don't conquer territory, but they reshape history. And that may have always been the point. Because the real lesson of Genghis Khan was never about horses or arrows, it was about adaptability, about understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. So here's the final question. If a 13th century warlord could nearly break the modern world without ever matching its technology, what does that say about the wars we're preparing for today?